I demand entertainment.
Are you not entertained?
Put on your dancing shoes.
Now give me your best shot.
That's entertainment.
That's Entertainment is here. Emma Gillespie from the Daily Oz, and it's all about Ellen DeGeneres.
Well, good morning, good morning. We are talking about Ellen DeGeneres today because she's back in the headlines. She started a brand new stand-up show. So we haven't heard from her in a little while. You might remember her show wrapped up in September last year. Now, that came after allegations in 2022 that Ellen was a bully, that she had a toxic workplace around her on the set of The Ellen Show. These allegations weren't just about Ellen. They were about her colleagues, her senior executives. But we've heard sort of in her own words a more candid kind of version of what went down. She says she got kicked out of show business, that the ordeal took a toll on her ego in this new stand-up show. But before we get stuck into the new show, I want to remind you a little bit of what went down back in 2022. This is an interview she did at the end of the show when they announced that the show was going to be sort of finishing up after 19 seasons, what she said about the culture on set.
I do wish somebody would have come to me and said, hey, something's going on that you should know about. But there's no way that I could, I wish I knew. And of course people are thinking that I should know, but it's not, there are not, 50 people here. There are 255 people here. And I just, I had no idea.
There were, of course, other attacks on who she was as a person, and this is kind of how she responded to that.
I don't know if every single day I'm smiling and dancing. I know that, if I am having a day where I'm walking around and I don't feel happy, or if I'm looking down and I don't look someone in the eye, does that mean I'm not kind? Or does it mean I'm a human being that has emotions and I'm thinking about something?
Yeah.
I know
sort of with her on that.
That sounds quite reasonable, but apparently there were directives to not look her in the face.
Yeah, so there was this BuzzFeed investigation that kind of alleged that there was this really intimidating environment and that it was sort of from the top down. But now we're hearing from her in this show. It's called Ellen's Last Stand, ... up to her. And she says it's going to be taped for a Netflix special later this year. So she's performed, first of all, to a really small crowd in LA, 200 fans, intimate show, no phones allowed. And she said she used to say she didn't care what other people thought of her. And she realised it was such a waste of time worrying about what other people thought. But she really did worry about what other people thought. I think it took a huge toll on her because that brand that she had of kindness, of being kind, she's kind of implying that there was a bit of a conspiracy, that it was a sort of a coordinated attack against her, calculated over this one summer that the show was off air, that she didn't really have a right of reply. But who knows if she can recover from that. I don't think we'll ever see her fully back in the capacity she was in, but do you think we can?
What I learned in this business, you can't be something that you're not. And Ellen DeGeneres, I rate her. I think she's fantastic. One of the greatest stand-up comedians. I remember seeing her years ago on the Johnny Carson show, and I thought she was just amazing. My point is, though, if you're going to say you're going to be kind, you're a kind person, then you've got to be kind. Ellen is a prickly person. She's always been a prickly person. That's part of her act. So you can't suddenly just say, I'm going to be kind and saddle up to that and then not be kind.
No. And you can't, in this day and age, run a big corporation like she did that has her name on it and not be responsible for that. A lot of people lost their jobs, executive producers, etc., who were working just underneath her. It wasn't like she was living in a castle and everyone else was somewhere else. These are people she worked with every day who created that terrifying environment for everybody. I agree, you can't live up to what the public wants you to be all the time.
Yeah.
But as you say, when your brand is kindness, and she was clearly not, it's hard.
Yeah, a lot of people were quite disappointed, I guess, in her response in those initial sort of weeks and months when she kind of claimed that, there's 300 people that work here. How can I possibly know? But I think anyone who's worked in an office environment, whether it's small or big, you know that there's a certain tone that is set from the top. And whether or not you know everyone's name in a company of 300 people, that's another thing. But surely you can be a presence, you can be in people's faces enough to kind of have them know what you're really like, quote unquote.
You look at all the people that work here with us. They all know exactly what we are.
There's about 4 of us,
They know exactly
and we
what
know
we
exactly what you are, and yet we compensate every
are.
day.
I'm kind.
The tell-all stand-up show from Jonesy next year.
Been cancelled.
Anyway, Ellen's been laying pretty low for the last sort of year and a half. She's, she made a Discovery Channel doco about gorillas, which I missed, shockingly. But I think,
Gorillas in the mist.
Yeah, Gorillas in the Mist. She's got some more shows on the tour. She's traveling all through the US. So I think, she's on a slow burn towards crescendoing back into public life after this controversy. But she won't be wanting to give away too much. We've got that Netflix special to look forward to towards the end of the year, around September, October, they're saying. But Netflix being very tight-lipped, Ellen's people being very, very tight-lipped. So we will have to wait and see if the Be Kind lady will be back for good.
Prickly lady. She's
The
prickly.
Be Kind lady. And she, she did say how hard it was to dance upstairs. She said, do you know how hard that is to dance upstairs? I said, I did it every day.
Because people want you to do that all the time. Imagine people saying to Amanda, you go do that dancing.
Anyone
all
that
the time.
bad at dancing and that committed to showing themselves being that bad at dancing has to have some kind of bone of good humour and kindness in their body, I reckon.
The bone of kindness.
That's entertainment.
Emma, thank you. We'll talk to you next Monday.
Thank you.